Hello everybody, this is a video about perimeter and circumference. I am your sweet smelling host, Mr. Shirley. Now, please, as usual, make a note as you go through this video. You won't need to write down everything, but you will need to write down some things. Remember as well that this is a video, so please pause it if I go too quickly for you. So our learning goal is to investigate some methods of calculating the perimeter of different shapes. You don't need to write that down, just have a read, but please make sure your note does have a title and a date. Okay, so the perimeter of something is the distance around the outside of a shape, all right? And it can be calculated simply by adding the lengths of the sides together. So any shape really, you can find the perimeter of it just by adding up those outside edges. So this example right here, to find the perimeter of this triangle, we would just take 3 plus 4 plus 5 in whatever order you'd like, it doesn't matter, and you end up with 12 centimeters. Okay, as you're doing examples in this unit, please make sure that everything does have a unit at the end in your final answer, okay? You don't need to write centimeters beside the 3 and the 4 and the 5 when you're doing your calculations here, but for your final answer, please include the units. Okay, now, certain shapes have formulas that come with them to help you with more quickly finding what the perimeter might be. Okay, so I've got a few examples of them here. So the perimeter of a rectangle, meaning that opposite sides are the same length. Okay, that's what the lines mean there. So 2L plus 2W, meaning 2 times the length, plus 2 times the width. Okay, so you've got 2 lengths and 2 widths. Okay, for an equilateral triangle, you simply multiply the side times 3. As long as they're all the same, there's 3 of them, so that's the perimeter. Okay, same idea for a square. Okay. Now, it's important to remember, though, that if you forget any of these formulas, just add up the sides. Okay, so you can always fall back on that if you don't remember one specific formula for finding perimeter. Okay, area formulas are a little more important. Perimeter formulas are less important because you can always just add the sides. Okay, it's probably a good idea to record this too, although some of this will be on the worksheet for today as well. Okay, so just as an example, I would like you to do this. So please pause the video, give this a try, and see how you do. Okay, I'll assume you did that. One thing I'd like to note just before we discuss the answer here is the diagrams in this unit are not to scale. Okay, unless you are measuring it yourself, you are not trusting that the measurements are to scale. So something that looks like it's the same as something else might not be. Something that looks like it's about half as big as something else, it might not be. Okay, let me rephrase that. It might be half, but because the numbers given to you might be different than that, go with the numbers that are given in the question. Okay, don't assume that it's to scale. Okay, I'll talk more about that during the week. So in this case, we'll use our formula here. So 2 length plus 2 width. And yes, this is meant to be a cursive L. The Smartboard software, that's how they make it look. I'm using it because to use a regular small letter L just often looks like a 1. And then it's really confusing as to where I came up with the number 21 instead of 2L. Okay, so we'll try and use that cursive L. So you just substitute in the length is 4, the width is 2.5. No, it doesn't matter even the slightest which number you pick as the length and width. You could switch them and you will still get the same answer. Okay, it doesn't matter. So in the end, you have 8 plus 5 and 13 meters. Remember again the units. All right, now circumference is a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. Okay, it gets its own terminology for that. So circumference is just the distance around the outside of a circle. All right, but there's a little extra terminology that goes with the circle, which is the radius and the diameter. Okay, the diameter is all the way across the circle, going through the center. Okay, not just along a side somewhere, right through the center. And radius is the different distance from the center to the outside of the circle. All right, now, hopefully you remember this from past years, but the diameter is equal to 2 of the radius. So if we had our diameters right across the middle here, radius this way, radius this way. So there are 2 radiuses, or radii if you want to be really fancy, to make up 1 diameter. Okay, so the formulas that you can use if you want is that diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, or the radius is equal to the diameter divided by 2. Okay, depending on what you need for your formula. Now, in the case of circumference, there are actually 2 formulas depending on which thing you have, so you don't really need to convert between diameter and radius, but you can if you'd like to, at least for circumference. So circumference, that's the C, what the C stands for, equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, hopefully you'll notice that you've got 1 diameter here and 2 radius here. So really these formulas are the same. Okay, you can use either one, it doesn't really matter. We haven't done as much with pi so far this year, but please keep in mind you can either use a pi button on your calculator. If you have that, it is more precise, it is more accurate, so if you have it, I'd like you to use it. If you don't have it, I'm okay if you just use 3.14 and just type that in. You will be close enough. Okay, and with rounding, you'll probably get exactly the same thing anyways, most of the time. But again, if you do have the button, use the button. Okay, now I'd like you to again pause the video, try and find the circumference of this circle right here. Okay, we'll assume you tried that. So 8 centimeters is the radius. Yes, I'm sure you all got that right. So 8 centimeters is our radius. So we will use the formula that's 2 times pi times r. Okay, so 2 times pi times 8. All right, and then you end up with some rounding, 50.3 centimeters. Okay, again, units on the end. Any question that involves pi will also involve rounding, always. Because pi is a never-ending decimal, you will always have to round it somewhere, or else you will be writing for the rest of your life. Now, I was going to add one more thing, but I forget what it was, so I guess we will end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching.